to try to squeeze this crash course into a short amount of time. My goal is to arm you with maybe a slightly better understanding of how the different answer engines work, some data to kind of back up where to focus your efforts today, and then some best practices to start increasing your presence in search in general. So the irony kind of where we are today is there is like a lot of panic and kind of an entire industry of AEO hacks and GEO tactics, and the results are kind of starting to speak for themselves after a couple years now of data, and it's all about SEO. This is good news. Good news for everyone. We have been saying this for a while, but Google also recently released their first ever like official guide to optimizing for AI search. And they're saying the same thing, that a solid foundation in SEO is really going to help you with AI search optimization. So one of the things you may have heard the expression RAG, or if not, RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. And it's just a fancy technical term for how AI queries the web to generate the most accurate and up-to-date answers. So ultimately, the AI engines are searching the internet, just like the humans used to. We don't do that anymore. We let AI do it for us, and that's fine. But this is really good news. It means that any foundational work that you've already done on SEO is still right. The rules haven't changed too much, but there's some opportunities that have emerged that we can go through. And I'll share those with you today. But keep this in mind as we chat. A strong foundation in SEO is the first step. The real shift is kind of like around what kind of content wins. So commodity content is out. That's the stuff that you could just generate with an AI engine. Write me a topic about X. Non-commodity, people-first content is in. This has always been true in principle, but AI is making it a little bit more urgent. So a few weeks ago, Tim Solo, who's the CMO of Ahrefs, shared some findings from a 6-month study on AI search behavior. And I think some of the findings are super interesting, and I want to share just a couple of them with you as we start to talk about strategy. So the first is just thinking about content format. So best of articles, top 5, anything that's considered a listicle format is making up almost half of the pages that are cited by ChatGPT and other AI engines. So when you're creating any kind of educational or thought leadership content, structured content with scannable answers are disproportionately more likely to be surfaced than long narratives. It actually does align with SEO best practices as well of how to structure your content. So don't worry, I'm going to share that with you in a couple of slides. But this is something to keep in mind. Another thing that's really critically important to know so you can work around it is that 2/3 of the citations on these AI platforms and engines are from sources you can't influence. So the number one is Wikipedia, 30%. It's very difficult to influence Wikipedia entries for your business. And then it's, app stores and Reddit and things like that that are dominating the AI citation. So only about 32% are coming from blog posts, reviews, and educational pages. So what you really want to do is focus your energy on the 30% or 32% you can control, not on all the other stuff. Now, here's one thing that I think is really exciting and also a little bit surprising, but YouTube has the highest correlated factor for AI brand visibility on the answer engines, which is a little bit counterintuitive to how we typically understand search. What this means is that this is probably one of the most actionable insights from that Ahrefs study. The top 3 sources from AI, we just talked about Wikipedia being number 1. Number 2 is Reddit, which is community focused. But YouTube is squarely within your control. So video content, educational, expert-led video content is a primary channel for AI brand visibility. So it's also part of a larger shift in how the AI engines are serving up your results. They're not just looking at your website. SEO was all about getting traffic to your website, showing up on the first page, getting that click, getting people to come to your website. The answer engines are looking for consensus across different sources and different channels on the internet, not just one very well optimized channel. So a video strategy is a great way to kind of add in that additional kind of source. We've been seeing also a lot of search results being sourced and cited from directory listings like Quirks or Greenbook, boilerplates, mentions in other people's articles. So think about that consensus when you're thinking about writing content that's optimized for search. Yes, your website is a core component of that, but are you saying something consistent in other channels as well? If you don't currently have a video strategy, I would highly recommend you think about starting one. Just a couple other things to think about data-wise. AI overviews have cut clicks to number one results, just number one results, by 58%. About a year ago, that number was 35%. So this trend continues to accelerate. Zero-click search is real. It just means we need to be thinking a little bit differently about what success looks like when we're thinking about if our efforts in optimizing for search are actually working. Okay, let's get into the best practices. I've got 4 really easy things to be thinking about, a little checklist of sorts when you're optimizing for SEO and AEO alike. So the first thing is to think about grammar. Here's your grammar lesson for the decade. In order to increase your citations, you kind of need to understand how AI engines are reading your content. So something very technical that you don't have to remember is that AI uses vector embeddings to model semantic associations. All this means is that humans understand words through context and experience. The AI tools, the robots, understand words and concepts through mathematics. So they are reading your words as code, essentially. So the grammar becomes actually a really important component when creating that content. You have to try to strike a balance between writing for search robots, AI robots, and actual humans who are reading your content. If you know the rules, it's not that hard, but it is something to think about. So our recommendation, our number one pillar, is use the right words naturally. So this means thinking about keyword strategy. It means thinking about, what questions are people asking on the internet? Are you creating content that answers those questions? And then think about the grammar. So AI specifically is looking for a structure like this, which is called a semantic triple, or writing paragraphs in semantic completeness. It means the subject, the predicate, and the object, the main entity or the concept, the verb, the relationship between the subject and the object, and then the target of that relationship. Writing sentences and structuring your paragraphs in this way will increase citations. Basically, if you're writing a 1,000-word article, making sure that the paragraphs and individual ideas can kind of live on their own. So could that one kind of paragraph exist on its own? It's going to have a higher correlation with an AI citation than if it requires you reading from beginning to end to understand it. So that's the first one, is to think about using the right words naturally. The second one, these are fundamental SEO best practices. So you want to make sure you use your target key phrase in your URL, in the title of your articles, in your opening paragraphs. You want a 150-character meta description. You want to leverage internal links to other pages on your website and external links to other content, and make sure your pages have images and videos. These are kind of the most basic SEO foundational pieces. This is the stuff that's the AI engines are going to search for and find you through their RAG process. I'm trying to accelerate my talk track here because I'm running behind. So focus on readability. This is number 3. Some of this is about vocabulary. Some of it's about content structure. You want to make sure that you're writing at a grade level of 8. It's not because people are not smart enough to read more complex content. It's because we don't have the energy to do it. We're pulled in a million different directions. And also the robots don't have the energy to do it either. So really simple. Make sure that you're structuring your content in short paragraphs, active voice, transition words. This also serves human readers and AI extraction together. So this is really important. This has always been important for SEO, but especially important for AI as well. And then the last pillar, this is the most important thing that I want everyone to leave here with, is that your distinct perspective and expertise is the biggest lever you have to pull when it comes to SEO. So commodity content, I touched on that in the beginning, means your content could appear on any other website about that topic. Your firsthand experience, your original perspective, your non-replicable expertise is what Google and ChatGPT and Anthropic are going to prioritize. They want to find something that can't be generated by AI, that can't be replicated, that is unique and useful. So again, this is an SEO foundational thing. This is part of a Google core update from a few years ago called helpful content. Happy to spend an hour talking about the helpful content algorithm. But but that really disrupted how web traffic worked and how search worked, and it's still really, really important. So as I wrap up what this means for you, the opportunity is around highlighting your expertise, your methodology, your perspective, and your case experience, something that AI cannot replicate. It's imperative that you actually create that content. Don't let it just live in your head. It's really important. And the result is you're going to get, served up in those AI engines. You're going to get traffic to your website, and maybe you'll get some business or some followers or some network out of it. That's the result. So don't overthink it. Just create the content. I have a lot more ideas and tips I can share on how to measure it and all of that good stuff. But here's your assignment for today for our little breakout rooms. We've talked a lot about kind of the data and the real differentiator for SEO and AEO. There's a lot of technical stuff that can be done, but how are we going to create that non-commodity content, the stuff that only you could say? So I want everyone to think about something that something that answers a very real question that your audience might be asking on the internet, and from your real experience that no AI could fabricate. And talk to each other, be honest about where it is. Does it sit in your head, or is it somewhere actually findable, published somewhere? And then I'd love you to think about a format. Could be blog, it could be video, it could be a LinkedIn post, could be a stream of consciousness voice note on your next dog walk, and say what the first step will be that you're going to take this week. So I hope that was helpful. That was a lot of information in a really short amount of time. I will shut up now and look forward to talking more.